guys, welcome to a new Café con Dulce episode. I missed you guys so much. I wanted to just sit down and talk to you guys. If you follow me on Snapchat, then I've probably been bugging you a lot because I snap a lot. I love how it's just like me talking and connecting with you guys directly, and I can read your comments about what you have to say and hear your opinion on topics. And a lot of the times I'm just having like all these random thoughts that are, you know, a big deal for me. But I wanted to come here on YouTube to create a discussion on this video and talk to you guys in case you don't follow me on Snapchat. I always feel like you do. Like if you follow me on YouTube, you follow me on Snapchat, so hopefully I'm not like repeating myself. But I also wanted to take a quick moment to say that I am so proud of all of you guys who came forward on my last Let's Talk About STDs videos, and you opened up and you were brave enough to share your experience with other women, because there were so many people reading that thread of comments in that video, and it got a lot of publicity also. So I'm so happy that that video is circulating, because it's something that a lot of our young girls really need to have. You know, I came to find out that a lot of people don't have these sexual health discussions with their parents. For me, for instance, in my Hispanic culture, being Mexican and being raised as a Catholic, I was never told anything about STDs. I was never told, you know, if you do have sex, make sure you use protection, have him wear a condom. That sort of conversation was never had in my household, and I do not blame my parents for that, because you do the best that you can with what you know at that time. And there's been so many times that my mom tells me, like, I wish that I can go back in time and do this differently. In my household, and I know a lot of you guys can relate to this, my dad scared me and my sisters about sex. Like, we were completely scared when it came to sex, because he said that if we ever got pregnant, that he would kick us out of our house. We would be a disgrace. He would disown us. He obviously would not do that, but he said it, and we really believed him. And he just didn't want us to end up pregnant at a young age, and he didn't want us to have sex. So that's the best way that my dad knew how to handle that situation. But it ended up leading me personally into a direction of not knowing that STDs were so prevalent and that it's so easy to contract these diseases. And that's why I ended up getting 3 of them at a very young age. And I'm so happy that a lot of you guys don't feel ashamed, because you shouldn't. If you have an STD, you should not feel ashamed. This is an infection, it's a disease. So they're out there. It just so happens that it's transmitted sexually. And I was thinking also about Usher, and how there's so many people who make fun of him in the media, people creating memes and just really making fun of him and making it seem like he's dirty, or it's like something that he should be so ashamed of. And I think it's so wrong, because having an STD means that you are sick. Okay, it's not something that we should ever joke around, create memes. We should never make fun of someone who is sick. And just because it's an STD, society makes it seem like, you know, it's something to joke about. You should be so ashamed, and everybody's over here clowning on Usher, and I just think it's wrong. And I'm just using him as an example because this is what I see in the media. And just imagine what that's doing to him. He's a human. Just because he's rich and famous doesn't mean that he doesn't feel anything. He's a human, you know? So I think it's wrong, and I think we should stop that. If anybody is doing that, I think it's just absolutely wrong to even joke about anybody having any kind of disease or any kind of sickness. You would never make fun of someone who was, you know, terminally ill. And STDs could lead to death eventually if they're not treated, so it's nothing to joke about. Anyways, I learned a lot. It was a big eye-opening experience for me also, just hearing your discussions and hearing the stories of women who had STDs at a young age and eventually got cervical cancer. But anyways, I just hope that we continue to have momentum with this conversation, even if it's just with our friends and our mom, you know? So anyways, that's what I had to say about my first video, because it was like a big aha moment for me too, guys, like honestly, because I didn't even think about sharing that I had STDs until I thought, you know what? This would be very like I want to show people that this is something that happens. Like, I've been through it and you have nothing to be ashamed of. Okay, absolutely nothing to be ashamed of. Whoa, oh my gosh, guys, I had the weirdest nightmare ever. The weirdest. I've dreamt twice that I got shot in the head, and I almost kind of felt like, I don't know, it left me feeling like I kind of know what it feels like to die. You feel a lot of pressure because it's like a change of energy. Like, your energy that was housed in your body is now like pressurized, and it comes out into the universe, and you're just energy. That's what you are, energy. This is like what I really would love for it to happen, that you are in another world, like in heaven, but you're still like in your human body, and it's just like this beautiful world that God created for all humans, completely full of love. And you have your family, your dogs, everybody that you love is there with you. How would life be? Somebody on Snapchat had a really great idea for me to share, kind of like a lesson learned at the end of every Café con Dulce. And I wanted to share, and I'm going to be doing this from now on, guys. So the lesson learned, I had a few lessons, but this one that I wanted to share with you guys is pretty funny, because I realized how sometimes I can be an asshole. I woke up one morning and I was just having one of those days where I was just not in a good mood. Okay, I was very moody for absolutely no reason at all. Like, everything, you know, outside of my mind is perfect. Everything is going great. But in my mind, my energy was just completely off. And I was running some errands by myself that day, and I was just coming in contact with a lot of people, either like just driving on the road or just like anywhere. Anybody that I came in contact with, I was pretty annoyed by that person, and I was very irritated. I felt very offended over anything. I was taking everything so personal. Like, if you didn't let me cut, well, first of all, I don't even try to cut people because nobody ever lets me cut in, but like when I'm driving. But even if I was like trying to do something that I'm like, I'm not trying to offend you, and then I do, and then you honk at me, I took it very personally. So I went to Pier 1 Imports to just look around, buy some fall florals and things like that. And this was towards the end of the day. I was having a bad attitude, and the lady, as soon as I walked in through the door, this lady that worked at Pier 1 was like, you know, good afternoon, welcome. Can I help you find anything? And I was like, no, thank you. Just like a big smile. And I was just like, be happy, be happy. So I keep walking around, my energy's still very off. I get to the register, and I have like these two big containers, right? Like these two big, huge glass pottery containers, and a lot of flowers that I was gonna put inside of them. And since I was alone, I couldn't carry everything with me to the car, and the car was really far. So I asked her if, is there anybody that can help me take my stuff out to the car? And she said, well, you can actually take 2 trips. What if a customer needs help? Like, you're not gonna help a customer out to the car. I just felt like that was very, like, I was just offended over that. And normally I wouldn't. That like would completely not offend me whatsoever, but that was just one of those days. Needless to say, I make 2 trips to the car, and I take my stuff to the car, right? I come back for the second round, and I grab the last stuff, and she says, have a good day. And I didn't even say thank you or smile or anything. I just grabbed my stuff and I left. And I get on Facebook later on that night, and I was just like, have you guys ever had one of those days where everybody you meet, they're just complete a-holes, or everybody just irritates you, something like that? And then a lot of people were like, yeah, oh my gosh, every day at work. And so I thought it was normal. I thought it was like everybody else just being assholes, and I'm over here just trying to have a good, well, actually, I was trying to have a good day, but my energy was just like not feeling it. So I come to realize, I had an aha moment when I realized, and I heard it somewhere on television, that if you encounter assholes in your day-to-day life, your whole day you're encountering assholes. Have you ever stopped to think that maybe you are being the asshole? And then I was like, oh my gosh, you're absolutely right. Whoever said this. I was the one being a complete and total a-hole No, not really. But yeah, it was my mood. I learned that if I'm encountering assholes all day and I'm not having a good day, it's most likely that I'm the one, you know, being the a-hole in that situation. So a few weeks later, I went back, which was yesterday, and it was just eating me up inside that I was so just not warm and welcoming, and that's not how I want to leave people feeling after they come in contact with me. Like, I want them to leave feeling good. And it was eating me up inside that I didn't have that connection with that woman. So I went back yesterday with Isaac after school, and I went to go look for some cushions, and she was there, and I was really hoping that she would be there. And I already had it in my mind that I was going to go apologize. So at the end, I'm checking out for the cushions, and she's like, "Oh, I love your hat," because I was wearing a hat. And she's like, "That's a really cute hat. I love collecting hats." And I was like, "I don't know if you remember me." And she's like, "Yeah, you kind of look familiar. What did you buy?" And I said, "Oh, I got a lot of flowers." And I told her, "I just want to apologize for the way that I was being the other day. I felt like I was being a bitch, and I was just having a really bad day, and I just want to say I'm sorry if I took it out on you." And she's like, "Oh, honey, don't worry about it. It just went over my head. I understand. People have those days. So, you know, I've been working in customer service for a long time, and so yeah, so it didn't affect her, but I'm glad that I apologized to her because now me and her are cool. You know what I mean? Instead of having like that weird, awkward friction between what I perceived for us to have, we're no longer going to have that. Now we can go to the store and we could be like, "Hey, girl." You know what I mean? So anyways, I'm just so happy that we fixed everything. But needless to say, the lesson here is to say sorry if you do something, and say sorry as soon as you can. Sometimes we like to drag things on because our ego won't let us apologize, especially in marriages or in any relationship, honestly. But for me, being married with my husband for 10 years now, like, one of the things that we always do is apologize to each other if we say something that we didn't mean, or if we do something that we didn't mean, because sometimes we can say and do things that we don't mean because we're angry or we're upset or whatever the case might be. But I think what's really important is to say sorry, because if not, from experience, you can go weeks without talking to each other, and things can just end up getting worse, and the egos tend to get bigger, and you're like, well, if he's not saying sorry, I'm not saying sorry. But it's like, when you really come down and when you really stop and think about it, if you are blessed enough to live till you're 100 years old, right? And you're laying in your deathbed, for example, and you have your husband there, and you know that you're gonna die already. Wouldn't you wish to have that week that you spent ignoring each other back to really live with each other and be with each other and just move on, because it didn't really matter and it's just like a waste of time? The biggest piece of marriage advice that I have is just to say sorry as soon as you can, if you did something to offend your partner, because yeah, and let me tell you, it fixes it every single time. We both move on from the problem, and we just, you know, we're happy. So anyways, thank you so much for watching today's Café con Dulce video, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed this one. I love you. Have a blessed and beautiful day. I will see you on Snapchat, and take care, guys. Talk to you soon.